Night shift workers of Reddit, what's the creepiest thing you've experienced in the middle of the night? I used to deliver food late at night, and this happened on my last run of the shift, around 2 in the morning. You know that point where you're already thinking about getting home, taking your shoes off, and pretending tomorrow doesn't exist? Yeah, that's exactly where my brain was. I usually left my car running while I dropped orders off. Probably not my smartest habit. This apartment complex was laid out by someone who clearly hated humanity, so finding the right building took me almost 4 minutes. By the time I finally got back, I rounded the corner and saw someone standing right next to my driver's door, just standing there, facing my window, not moving. At first I froze. My brain started throwing out theories like a conspiracy podcast with no fact checker. Maybe he's trying to steal the car. Maybe he's waiting for me. Maybe I'm about to become tomorrow's local crime headline. Super helpful stuff. I stayed back for a second, hoping he'd just leave. He didn't. So I slowly walked closer and yelled, "Hey, what are you doing, man?" Nothing. No answer, no reaction, just standing there. The silence was somehow louder than if he'd started screaming. It felt like the whole parking lot had hit the mute button, just to make this moment as uncomfortable as possible. Every step toward my car felt like walking into a horror movie where the audience is already yelling, "Don't do it, you idiot." When I got close enough, the guy finally turned his head, looked straight at me, smiled. Not a friendly smile, either. The kind that says absolutely nothing, which somehow says everything. Then he just walked away. Didn't speak, didn't look back, didn't explain a thing, just disappeared into the night like he'd finished whatever bizarre side quest he was on. I got in my car, locked every door before I even sat down properly, and suddenly that running engine I'd always taken for granted felt like the best decision I'd ever accidentally made. Still have no clue what that guy wanted, and honestly, I don't think I want to know. Story 2. I worked nights at a gas station, and weekdays were usually dead, just truckers, cabbies, coffee addicts, and people making questionable life choices at 3 a.m. Basically the graveyard shift support group. Then this car rolls in, parks, and leaves its floodlights pointed straight at the front windows. The whole store looked like it was being interrogated by the FBI. Weird, but whatever. People forget their headlights all the time, except this dude doesn't get out for like 5 minutes. When he finally walks in, nah. Guy's twitchy as hell, eyes wide enough to catch satellite signals, clothes all messy, pacing around like his brain was buffering at 2%. He grabs a coffee, comes to my register, and just stares at me. Doesn't blink, doesn't smile, doesn't answer when I try making small talk. Just pays and keeps drilling holes into my soul with his eyeballs. For context, I'm a 5'2" woman working completely alone overnight. I smile at everybody because customer service basically beats that into your DNA. Doesn't mean I want to star in whatever horror movie this guy thought he was directing. One of the regular cab drivers was hanging around chatting with me, and even he caught the vibe. He quietly slid me his card across the counter and said, "If that guy's still here when you close, call me. Something's off." That sentence hit my nervous system like an ice bucket. Sure enough, Creepy McCaffey never left. He spent almost an hour wandering around, pretending to browse while watching me clean. Not casual glances either, full-on Predator documentary energy. Like I was the gazelle and he was waiting for the narrator to say, "The opportunity finally arrives." Absolutely not. Then a few truckers pulled into the lot. The second they showed up, this dude walked outside, got back in his car, parked right against the front window, and just kept staring. Didn't leave, didn't do anything. Just sat there like the human version of a Windows error message. Closing time finally came, and I called the cab driver. Without even hesitating, he drove over and gave me a free ride home. Later, he told me the creep had actually followed his taxi for a while, with his high beams blasting the whole way. Still have no clue what that guy wanted. Maybe nothing. Maybe drugs. Maybe he was just broken in a way that made everyone else's survival instincts start screaming. Either way, I was never so happy to see a random truck stop parking lot full of giant diesel dudes. Turns out the safest security system is a handful of exhausted truckers looking for bad coffee and gas station sandwiches. Story 3. I worked the night shift at an amusement park during the off-season, which sounds fun until you realize it's basically a giant abandoned carnival after midnight. No music, no crowds, just empty rides standing there like giant skeletons waiting for therapy. There were exactly 2 people in the whole park, me and my coworker, and he was riding right beside me, so at least I knew I wasn't hallucinating. Probably. We're driving around doing our rounds when a phone starts ringing in one of the ride control booths. Okay, weird. Before we even get there, it stops. Then the phone in the next building starts ringing, then another, then another. Not all at once either, which somehow made it 10 times worse. It felt like the ringing was chasing us around the park, like some invisible receptionist had one job: keep these idiots uncomfortable. We're talking 25, maybe 30 different phones spread across the property. Every building had its own line, different numbers, different extensions. If somebody somehow pulled off a prank that coordinated, honestly, respect. That's an insane amount of effort just to make two underpaid night shift workers question reality. Every time one phone stopped, another one farther down the road would start. It was like trying to follow a firefly that kept teleporting. You know that feeling when your stomach quietly says, "Hey, I don't think we're supposed to be here"? Yeah, that. Neither of us was cracking jokes anymore. We just kept driving, pretending we weren't both listening for the next ring like it was our turn in some haunted game of Marco Polo. Nothing ever came of it, no people, no explanation, just 30 phones in an empty amusement park acting like they had a staff meeting scheduled at 2 in the morning. I still don't know what caused it, but if ghosts exist, they've got absolutely terrible customer service etiquette. Story 4. I've spent most of my Air Force career on night shift as an aircraft maintainer, and if you've never worked around military jets at 2 in the morning, imagine hanging out inside a giant metal beast that constantly sounds like it's deciding whether to kill you. It's comforting in the same way a crocodile is comforting when it's asleep. One job we do is called alloxing, filling the aircraft with liquid oxygen for the pilots. It's dangerous enough that you're the only person allowed anywhere near the jet while you're doing it. So there I am, geared up like I'm about to fight a chemical spill instead of just doing maintenance, parked way across the flight line where nobody else is around. Just me, the darkness, and a billion-dollar machine silently judging my life choices. I finish the servicing, climb up onto the aircraft, and switch the power on so I can grab the numbers for the paperwork. The second the system wakes up, I swear that sound came from every direction at once. Not one corner, every corner. It was like the entire aircraft inhaled, got offended by my existence, and started hissing at me. My brain skipped every logical troubleshooting step and went straight to, yep, this is how I die. They're gonna find me tomorrow looking like a frozen hot pocket. Adrenaline doesn't ask permission. It just grabs the steering wheel and floors it. Turns out the shutoff valve where I'd been servicing had frozen open, so it was happily spraying liquid oxygen everywhere, like the world's most expensive lawn sprinkler. Good news, the airplane wasn't trying to murder me. Bad news, my nervous system had already submitted its resignation, so after my heart finally climbed back out of my boots, I got the privilege of changing my pants, figuratively, mostly, and then doing the entire LOX job all over again. Nothing says night shift quite like surviving your own panic attack only to get rewarded with more paperwork. Story 5. Night shift guarding a prison is already dollar store horror DLC. Then I walk into this pitch black kitchen and there's just a knife chilling on the counter. Nope. That thing should have been locked up after inmate count, so my brain instantly went, cool, somebody's about to get stabbed. My head was spinning like a busted security camera. Later I'm freaking out over growling outside, convinced death had clocked in too. Turns out it was raccoons. Thanks, guys. Would have loved that memo before I almost fought a furry garbage goblin. Story 6. I worked nights as a hostess at a nightclub. Honestly, the job was mostly checking IDs, smiling until my face hurt, and pretending drunk people were making sense. Standard customer service, just louder and with way more glitter. I kept a tip jar on the desk in front of me, and since it was a Saturday, that thing was actually looking respectable for once. I was already mentally spending it on groceries, because apparently that's what adulthood is now. This guy walks up and starts chatting. Normal enough, except while he's talking, he casually nudges my tip jar behind my computer monitor where I can't see it anymore. The smoothest magic trick I've ever witnessed, except instead of pulling a rabbit out of a hat, he made about $120 disappear. I didn't even realize what happened until he turned around and headed back into the club. The second I noticed, I flagged security. They pulled up the camera footage, watched the whole thing happen, sprinted after him, and dragged him right back. Dude had zero defense because, well, cameras exist. Crazy concept. They made him hand every dollar back. Problem solved. Or so I thought. As security was throwing him out, he locked eyes with me. Not angry, not embarrassed, just that 1,000-yard crazy stare that instantly makes every survival instinct in your body start screaming. Then he starts yelling that he's gonna wait outside for me, that he'd rape me, shoot me. Yeah. Funny how your brain goes from, sweet, I got my tip money back, to, I wonder if tonight's the night I end up on the local news. It's like flipping a light switch, except the light is pure adrenaline. Thankfully, every security guard in that place took it seriously. When my shift ended, they all walked me out to my car and made sure I got inside safely before they left. The money wasn't what stuck with me. It was realizing how fast somebody can go from petty thief to making horrifying threats because they got caught. People will really risk prison over a tip jar, then act like you're the inconvenience. Humanity is exhausting. Story 7. This one isn't mine. It's my dad's, and the guy spent years working as a paramedic, so he wasn't exactly the type to get rattled easily. You don't survive that job if every weird call sends you into a panic spiral. One night, they got dispatched to a truck where a guy had been found dead. The poor dude had apparently been there for a while. Rigor mortis had already set in, and to make the whole thing extra cinematic, there was a massive thunderstorm rolling through. Because apparently horror movies and real life share the same producer, they managed to work the body's arms and legs enough to get him onto the stretcher, loaded him into the ambulance, and headed out. Problem was, it was around 3 in the morning, and the mortician couldn't get into the morgue until 4, so instead of sitting around at the station, they figured they'd just drive for a bit and kill time. About 15 minutes into the ride, the dead guy suddenly sat bolt upright, then let out this long, deep "Mom." My dad said every single person in that ambulance nearly evacuated their soul through their eyeballs. Imagine thinking you're alone with a corpse, then the corpse decides it's got one last opinion to share. Your brain doesn't stop to analyze the science, it just slams the giant red note button and starts writing your obituary. The guy was still completely dead. No miracle, no zombie, no secret heartbeat. Later, my dad found out what actually happened. When they straightened the body after rigor mortis had locked everything up, trapped gases shifted inside as the ride jostled along. The pressure pushed air through the vocal cords, making the body sit up slightly and let out that awful moan. Perfectly explainable. Absolutely not something I'd ever want explained to me while it was happening. Some lessons are better learned from the comfort of someone else's nightmare. Story 8. I used to deliver food late at night, and this happened on my last run of the shift, around 2 in the morning. You know that point where you're already thinking about getting home, taking your shoes off, and pretending tomorrow doesn't exist? Yeah, that's exactly where my brain was. I usually left my car running while I dropped orders off. Probably not my smartest habit. This apartment complex was laid out by someone who clearly hated humanity, so finding the right building took me almost 4 minutes. By the time I finally got back, I rounded the corner and saw someone standing right next to my driver's door, just standing there, facing my window, not moving. At first I froze. My brain started throwing out theories like a conspiracy podcast with no fact checker. Maybe he's trying to steal the car. Maybe he's waiting for me. Maybe I'm about to become tomorrow's local crime headline. Super helpful stuff. I stayed back for a second, hoping he'd just leave. He didn't. So I slowly walked closer and yelled, "Hey, what are you doing, man?" Nothing. No answer. No reaction. Just standing there. Later, my dad found out what actually happened. When they straightened the body after rigor mortis had locked everything up, trapped gases shifted inside as the ride jostled along. The pressure pushed air through the vocal cords, making the body sit up slightly and let out that awful moan. Perfectly explainable. Absolutely not something I'd ever want explained to me while it was happening. Some lessons are better learned from the comfort of someone else's nightmare. Story 8. This almost feels like cheating because I work the night shift at a psych facility. Weird stops being weird after a while. You see people come in completely psychotic, people screaming at walls, people whispering to themselves in the corner with no clothes on like they're trying to unlock a secret level of reality. After enough shifts, your brain just goes, "Yep, Tuesday." So when one of our patients came up to the nurse's station saying someone was outside their window watching them, nobody immediately panicked. The patient had been admitted with some pretty intense hallucinations, so our first thought was, okay, let's go reassure them. Simple. Walk in, show them nobody's there, help them calm down. Easy. The room had those removable privacy curtains pulled shut. I asked, "This is the window?" They nodded. I grabbed the curtain, pulled it open, and nearly launched my soul into low Earth orbit. There was a guy, right there, standing inches from the glass, eyes wide open, just staring straight back at us, not moving, not blinking. For 1 second, my brain completely blue-screened. You know when your thoughts just disconnect like somebody yanked the Wi-Fi out of your skull? Yeah, that. The second we made eye contact, the guy bolted, just gone. We immediately called security and the police, and they searched the area. Nothing. Nobody ever found him. He never came back. The part that still messes with me isn't that there was some random creep outside. It's that we walked into that room completely convinced we were about to disprove a hallucination. Instead, the hallucination was the only person telling the truth. I've never felt so betrayed by common sense in my life. Sometimes reality pulls the dumbest plot twist imaginable, then just refuses to explain itself.